So Chris, the next thing I'd like to just kind of talk about, when we saw the chart on the screen here, we saw that roughly 70% of our time and investment goes into the run. We saw a little bit less in grow and even less in the transformation element. Yep. And kind of the model we've seen, that's been pretty consistent for the last 10, 12 years or so. How do I actually start to shift so there's better balance between them? So I assume my budget is fixed. How do I shift to get better balance?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of that is in my mind, it's about taking lifting oneself up higher than just IT, running IT, and looking at the entire business itself, and saying the way that I manage the technologies, the way that I support and run what's in place right now, could it be done in a more holistic manner than it's being done today? Give you an example. Many organizations today have 2, 3, 4 different technologies that they use to manage the different elements of their infrastructure. They're monitoring their servers with one thing, they're monitoring an application with another, they're monitoring the network with yet another. And I would tell you that all of these tools are expensive, and the amount of effort that goes into implementing those tools and getting them to the point where they're actually providing the value that they should is seldom even finished, let alone is the investment fully realized.
So why would it not get finished? I mean, you spent a lot of money to do something and not finish it.
Remember, that investment is still looked at as run. And so it's competing for time and focus with these individuals that are actually implementing it for those fires that you showed, the firefighting that you showed. So I have this balance of, should I be proactive about what I'm monitoring and managing so that I don't have to firefight? I have to balance that with the fact that I need to fight fires.
Do you guys see that as a common challenge, trying to balance the two, being proactive versus reactive? It's a constant struggle. So that seems like it's a big obstacle to overcome. It sounds good in theory that, yeah, just stop doing this, be more proactive, and it all happens, but it sounds like it's challenging.
We need to do what the Patriots were supposedly doing this year. This was supposed to be a rebuilding year, right? Yeah. We ended up being in the running, but this was really supposed to be a rebuilding year. I often say, even at Atreon, and Mark chuckles about this when I say that, couldn't we just close down for a year? We'll just call it a rebuilding year. I see one of the board members over there looking at me like,
no.
Couldn't we just call this a rebuilding year and not have so much pressure to perform, because we have all these things that we want to do to improve, and it'll make us so much better down the road. But let's face it, I mean, business has to keep moving forward. Nobody's looking to shrink in any given year, and especially an organization like ours, we are a growth-centered organization because we want to be able to have long-term sustained careers and relationships, for our people and relationships with our clients. So growth, we're almost, if we're not growing, we're in some form of decay. So with that said, the operational pieces always have to happen, and there's always going to be the balance of firefighting and trying to be proactive.
Okay. So it sounds like the obstacle that stops us is all the run activity that has to happen. That operational stuff, if we're in a active mode, it makes it even worse. So if we think about that, really what you're telling me is that we need to get better at the run.
I absolutely believe we need to get better at the run.
Okay. So
how many of you, and I think that we got a good sense for this in your speech this morning. How many of you feel like you do a lot of firefighting? Very reactive. Show of hands. Very reactive. I was actually at an awards ceremony last night. Our very own Dave Oakman. Dave out there? Where are you, Dave? There's Dave Oakman. Dave Oakman was actually acknowledged and recognized as one of the top 10 technologists in the state of Rhode Island last night. Very well deserved. But what I found interesting was the way that the awards ceremony ensued. There were a bunch of videos. The 10 different people, had these cameo videos that were shot. Every single one of them talked about how much they love the fact that it's different every day. Firefighting is a lot of what makes our lives different every day. We're very reactive, and we constantly have these challenges that are thrown at us. It's also the fact that we do a great job at fighting those fires, and we're very reactive. We reward and we cherish and we recognize and we look at those people as heroes when they can do those things, solve the most complex technical problems, right? One of the things that I think we really need to think about doing is find a way to change the definition of heroism within your organizations. When there's somebody in your organization that typically is a technical person that solves the most technical problem, that you see changing their dialect and they're using business terms, or they reach out to the business in such a fashion and they do it in a, I can help your users to do this business piece better. Make that a heroic thing rather than, hey, you reacted to this thing at midnight, when you were off shift and you solved a technical problem that nobody else could solve. I'm not saying that's not important. Those things are still going to happen. But we sort of need to change the definition of heroism, I think, within IT and align it more with the business itself.
So kind of reward the fusion aspect of IT versus the firefighting aspect of IT.
Exactly right. Create that cultural shift.